and it reads Tenno. When balancing for Aya acquisition, we neglected to consider the Ghoul bounties. This was our mistake. As a result of Aya's placement within these, this reoccurring event was being run in such a way that vastly detracted from the intended flow of bounties, which also caused endless migrations and season problems. As this was randomly repeating event, we've set it up so that any reoccurrences of this event have been put on hold until the new war launches, at which time the new appearance will have slightly refractor drop rates, similar how we handled Aya in some void missions. We are sorry for any confusion here, but we wanted to be transparent about our plans for the Ghoul bounties. We will have launch information for the new war soon, as the post the latest information in December, but we will update here once it's live. Thanks, Tenno. So a few things about this. The first thing is, all bounties right now are being run in the intended flow of bounties. Also, as many of you know, when doing Ghoul bounties, you stay in the bounty and you run the bounty alone. You never leave the plains of Eidolon. There is no migrations and no change of sessions. So this is being someone who looked very hard into bounty loops. This right here is filler. This is filler text to just say we don't want you to get that much Aya, because there's no migrations and no session changes, no session drops. You don't enter Cetus. You don't enter a new bounty. You just play the bounty as if you completed the first bounty. In retrospect, in a comparison, when you finish a bounty in the Plains of Eidolon, or if in anywhere, but we're going to use the Plains of Eidolon. When you finish a bounty in the Plains of Eidolon, stage 1 through 5, and instead of heading back to Cetus, you go to a tent, and you restart that new mission, it's already a bounty loop, I found. The loop stays the same, no matter what. So instead of abandoning an objective and heading to a tent, if you finish stage 1 through 5, the next time you start up the bounty again will be the same stages 1 through 5. So it has nothing to do with migrations and session problems, because you don't leave the Plains of Eidolon and you don't leave the bounty. It would be the same thing as completing bounty stage 1 through 5 and then just starting up a new bounty from a tent. But I understand DE wants to change their Aya drop rates. As this is a randomly repeating event, we said it so any reoccurrence this event has been put on hold. Yep. So until the new war updates, which means that from to this date, it's going to be a week or two. Unknown if they mean up until the new war or until the end of Prime Resurgence. We'll have to find that out. And they also said that they're going to drop tables. And I didn't notice this until I read it here, and I did some digging. And they changed it because of the capture missions in void missions, but the capture missions were already terrible to do. The drop rate in void missions is terrible, but they dropped it further. Why? I am not sure. Now, the funny thing about this is that the Ghoul bounty, regardless of what they change, will still be a good bounty to run. It's not that it had really high drop rates that people did it. That just helped the fact you get Aya faster. What actually made it faster was that no matter what rotation you are on, no matter when you do it, you had a high chance of getting capture the target, assassinate the target, find the prisoner, really fast missions, because that's what the Ghoul bounty is. And you'd get that no matter what. So unless they nerf the drop rates right to the ground and make it like a 10% chance, if it's reflective as the same as normal bounties, it still is really good option. If, for instance, the first mission has a 33.3% chance to drop, that was another thing. The first mission had a chance to drop Aya, so no matter what they nerf it to, it still will be better to run anyway. So we'll keep that in mind as well. I totally forgot that Ghoul bounties had a stage 1 drop. But let's say that they took that out, and it's just stage 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's reflected on the level 40 to 60 missions on Cetus. It still would be better to run, because you'll be running it anyway, but the Ghoul bounties, well, have faster missions. You can complete the Ghoul bounty missions much faster than other rotations on Cetus. But I saw this, and I have went into far depth on how to do bounty loops, and this isn't a problem in doing bounty loops, because you don't migrate sessions, and you don't leave the session, and you don't migrate in a team because you don't play with teams. So I saw that to be quite interesting. But I read that. DE wants to lower the drop rate of Aya. That's fine. It's their game. If they don't want like the drop rate to Aya to be so high, that is perfectly okay. Like I said, unless they nerf Aya straight to the ground, the Ghoul bounties will still be preferred, because either one, there's going to be an Aya drop on stage 1, or 2, it's going to be reflective to Cetus drop tables, and the Ghoul bounty is the fastest bounty in the game to run. So let's go ahead and actually read some of these comments, because I feel like that would be a good way to understand everything. I'm glad I didn't jump to the madness of Aya Ghoul farming. It felt wrong in every possible way. As long as you weren't interfering with other people's gameplay, I think it. Okay, as long as you weren't interfering with other people's gameplay, I think it was perfectly fine. You get exploits as you get them, since Aya is really hard to attain anyway. Thanks for doing that. Again, it's not a bad change by DE. You change the drop rates for Ayas when you change the relics. I do hope you factor in the fact that this was by far the most reliable way to get Aya. I mean, alternatively, you could have increased the Aya drop rates across the rest of the game. I don't agree with this. Just the fact that if the rest of the game had the same drop tables as the Ghouls, people would have so many Aya that they probably wouldn't even know what to do with. Yeah, hopefully it's not just incentives to do the whole bounty instead of extracting. This is my reason. I never did a Ghoul bounty before this either. So, they were missed as part as rebalancing. Thanks, it was the correct mission to make. Soloing and only doing the first stage before extracting was one thing, but all that leeching, players joining a squad and standing just inside the gates, letting someone else do all the fighting before extracting after the first stage. If I actually wrote that, I think, what? Who does this? It's like a 30-second mission. Why would you it takes more effort to join a squad and just wait at the gates and let the squad do it and then abandon. I don't incentivize doing this. Why would you do that? 1, you're being a bad player. 2, you're the reason that this nerf is happening then, because why would you just stand at the gate and let a random squad? I've always said do it solo or do it with friends. Never join a random squad and let them carry you through the first stage and then leave. That sounds like it's more work to begin with. Sorry, that frustrated me a little bit. The only time I have ever said do that is in Deimos on the final mission on stage 5. Abandon stage 5 and start, or on Cetus 2, I guess. Abandon stage 5 and then start at the tent. Just so that the main reason I point that out is because after stage 5, when people fly over to re-enter the plains of Avalon, sometimes people don't even enter. Sometimes people don't even show up. I was waiting for like 40 minutes and I left squad anyway because of that. So I was like, why don't I just leave squad and try and start a loot bounty instead of waiting for like a minute and a half to find out I have to leave squad anyway to even get into the Cetus because they don't want to show up. Anyway, this is a little bit frustrating. Not what this person is saying, but because people were doing it that way. How many folks were doing stage 1 ghouls? That's so awful to do that to a random team. Yeah, go in solo. Like, you don't go in with a random team to just abandon them on stage 1. See, if a lot of people were doing it that way, which I've watched other people's videos on how to do ghoul stage loot bounties, none of them have promoted. None of them have told you to go in with a squad and abandon them. None of them. And if a lot of people were doing it, then DE has every right to nerf this because of what they were saying up here, which is migrations and session problems, because you don't do that. That's just being a bad player. Sorry. Just kind of upset about that one. Kind of frustrated. Transparency. Yep. To be transparent, let's put in simple words then. You're a new freaking Ghoul bounties because they became popular. Otherwise, they should have changed the loop long time ago. I actually, reading the top 2 comments there, this might not actually be true anymore. It might be because people were actually joining in full random squads and then abandoning them on stage 1. I'm going to drop it here, hoping it'll be listened to. It's just an idea and values can be tweaked accordingly. Since Primary Surgeon is an event anyway, you could place Ayas as a fixed drop rate at the end of bounties. If you complete all secondary objectives, basically instead of a random double dip, just place a fixed amount of Ayas at the end, something like 1 for low level, 2 for mid, 3 for high. If you complete secondary objectives, would make people stay for the whole duration of the bounty without finishing for... If a change like this did happen, I would have to say Cetus is the best place, just because you finish the stage as quickly as possible. And this wouldn't really fix what's already being done, per se, in Cetus now, which is complete 1 through 5 of 2 or 3 certain stages. But, I mean, the Ghoul bounties were the only one, really, with that, because it had a drop rate on the first stage and then 44% chance afterwards. Wrong in what way? In what way that you allowed your farm to resource more efficiently? I'm confused. See, this is, again, it's not wrong if you're considerate of other players and DE's team. If you have hundreds or thousands of people just joining on stage 1, standing, not moving, and then like leaving squad after stage 1 to just go back into Cetus and come back out, it makes no sense to me. Even when I'm doing my data sheets, every time a mission changes, I have to open up my Google spreadsheet and type it in, and I'm like 30 seconds late to a stage. I feel bad because I'm like, oh, I'm late, I gotta hurry up. Still hoping for Rigo Isle to actually be farmable. It won't. We'll only read the first page here. Just a few hours of being AFK. Yes, maybe 20, you get 500 7 relics. They need to hire late-game players. But which Ghoul purge terms would mean that you have approximately 2,000... Anyway. I don't want to read all of this one. So yeah, this is pretty much it. And too late. Many players have 500 plus Aya. No, they don't. I'm gonna point this out. To get 500 plus Aya from Ghoul bounties, you'd have to no life that. You'd have to play non-stop. I was playing a lot, and I only got like, I guess, 130, 140. Because I was making videos on it. But then again, I wasn't no-lifing it either. I mean, I have other stuff to do outside of this, and outside of playing Warframe. This just seems like an extreme number, unless like people are playing 24/7. But still, there's nothing wrong with this. You put in the time, you get your worth. You could still get massive amount of Aya by no-lifing the game. That's just how farming works. But anyway, and I blew all mine anyway on like the first and second scheduled events there for Nova, Mag, whatever the other ones were. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Just wanted to quickly read out and show thoughts. See ya.